What we don't want to do on vacation is take 5 steps backward, right? Especially if you've been working out and sticking to a plan and you have certain goals. Just because vacation comes up doesn't mean it needs to go all out the window, right? It's not an all or nothing. So I wanted to talk a little bit about mindset before you go on vacation. Because I think sometimes when we think of vacation, we think we can just let it all go, right? But if we approach the mindset of vacation is a time for you to treat yourself good, to do good things for yourself, I think we take a different approach and you might make better choices or different decisions before you go. So that's what I kind of try to do. Like if you're working late, you have kids, lots of things going on, and you might not have time. We hear about time as one of the biggest obstacles for people. So vacation is a perfect time to put all of this in, things that you don't normally do on a regular basis. Try to introduce those and look at it more as self-care on vacation. So I kind of like that mindset to begin with. I kind of broke this up into different categories. So before you go, we want to kind of plan ahead. Just like you plan your week ahead, hopefully you're planning your meals, you're thinking about your schedule. What are some of the things you think you can do before you go on vacation? What would you do to plan ahead? What are some things that you might do? Anybody want to give some ideas?
Make a list.
Make a list. So yeah, plan ahead. One of the biggest things I tell people is do your research, right? We want to research. What would we research? What's that?
Place.
Yeah, like restaurants. Look at menus ahead of time. TripAdvisor, if anybody knows TripAdvisor, there's so many apps out there to do so many things for you. But TripAdvisor, you can put in where you're going, and then it pulls up hotels, restaurants. So I always go on the restaurants, and I'll start looking at different things. Now you're going to approach vacation differently. Some people like to eat out a lot, and that's their break of not cooking. Or some people like to cook in because it's kind of expensive. We kind of do a hybrid of that. We'll eat in breakfast and lunch, and then we'll go out for dinners. But I'm always researching those restaurants to see who has some good options. Where can I get some good salads? Is there options for everybody in the family? Like always planning ahead. So you definitely want to research. What else would you do before you would go on vacation, do you think? What about packing? I have some treats over there. Packing some smart snacks. So when I say smart, what would that be? And I'm going to talk about those things on the side over there. I guess it also depends on how you're traveling. Like if you're traveling by plane, you might be taking some things differently. But we want to be thinking of what if we get stuck somewhere? What if we're delayed? What if we don't have access to certain good things? So have a little kitty. I take a little baggie and I put it in my bag. I always carry it with me and never check it because I don't want to get stuck on a tarmac for hours without any good food, right? We won't starve, but we also want to be prepared. What else could you do before you go? What about like where you're staying? Does anybody look ahead for certain things where they're staying as far as accommodations?
They have like pool and things there.
Right, exactly. So when you tie it back to nutrition, how about places that have a kitchen? Right, so when you book your accommodations, we want to look for things like a gym. Do they have access to the gym? Are they near a CrossFit gym? Do they have a kitchenette? Because what happens when they have a kitchenette, then we can control some of those meals and some of that food. So looking ahead at that. One other thing I wanted to touch base on that is if you're traveling by car and you're going someplace that has a kitchen, think about Instacart because it's a great way to plan out some meals ahead of time and then you have it delivered to the house so you don't get caught up in all the beach stuff and all the food, right, and the crowds, and you end up buying more than we need to. So Instacart, where you're going, is always a good option to plan ahead and be prepared. Okay, so that's before you go. Anything else anybody wants to add that they do before they go to prepare for a trip?
A cooler.
A cooler. So we're going to get into that when you're traveling by car. Absolutely. And I almost brought a cooler.
Yeah, I always try to stock the fridge for what I'll need when I get back. So I'm not like running to the grocery store the day I get back or having to scramble to pick up food on the day that I get back.
You're smart. Y'all know that, right? Y'all know that. So when you get back, yes.
Your workout clothes.
Workout clothes.
That's what.
The clothes. Let's add that. some tips being prepared. I always recommend that you have a good breakfast. We want to start our day. Why would you want to start your day with a good breakfast? What are some of the downfalls of not doing that?
Low energy.
Yes. Right? If you're going on the beach for the whole day and you get hungry, there's a high likelihood that you're going to make a poor choice, right? So we want to load up on what? You should all know this by now. Protein and fiber. Protein and fiber, for sure. So a healthy breakfast, a good breakfast.
Yeah, the fiber is fruits and veggies.
Yeah, fruits and veggies. What else? Balance indulgences. So what do I mean by that? So we all know we're going to be maybe having more ice cream than we normally have, or the kids want to have some cookies or dessert. So how do you balance those indulgences? Thinking about the day. Like we don't want to be having dessert, like a muffin at breakfast, and then we have some ice cream at lunch and then dessert at dinner. Pick one, just pick one, right? We don't have to go all in all 3 meals. Or you want to do Monday through Thursday, you're going to do good, but Friday is going to be the day you splurge on that indulgence. So it's not about deprivation. It's not about not enjoying yourself. We just want to find that little bit of balance throughout the week. Choosing wisely. So let's put here, choose wisely. What do we mean by that? If you're out at a restaurant, how are you going to choose wisely? What would be those wise choices if you're at a restaurant?
Instead of loading up on pastries, I think of like all inclusive breakfast buffet.
So it is. So I call it like grilled, right? Baked or steamed. Those would be your first choices, right? Always choose those first and then add your vegetables. And then if you still are hungry and you want to indulge, you will have tendencies to not eat as much of that stuff, right? Or we're sharing it. Local produce is always a good way to go, especially if you're at the beach, because it's fresh and you know you're going to get good stuff. So that's another tip. And then, of course, we want to stay hydrated, right? So I'm a big proponent. I don't know if Dr. Raju is, I don't know if you've ever had this conversation, and it's electrolytes, especially if it's hot like this week with the heat. We tend not to drink as much, but if you're exercising and you're in the heat and you're out more than normal, electrolytes kind of just give yourself things you need in a good way. Just watch the sugar content in the electrolyte. Eat well and on plan, and then 20% of the time we give yourself more wiggle room. So what does that look like? If you're going away for 7 days, that's 1 or 2 meals where you go off course. So you can approach it that way, just being mindful of how you're approaching the vacation and the week as a total instead of maybe just the days, right? So like I mentioned, like the weekends, you might want to go off a little bit. So we're not completely every day off the wall. So that's an 80-20, we call that. And then this is a big one. Limit liquid what? Calories, right? So what are we drinking? I know we can go off course a little bit with like alcohol or fruity drinks, right? So again, what are those? Give yourself those parameters. And by that, I mean, maybe it's where I'm just going to have a drink after dinner. But a lot of times we get on the beach and we're back in the cooler and we have beers and all kinds of things, right? So setting yourself a limit, like 1 a day, maybe you'll have 1 and have some water. So again, we're not denying ourselves. We're just making better choices and being aware of when and what we're choosing when it comes to those calories, because they will add up. And it's not only the calories when it comes to the alcohol, it's your body processing it, number 1, number 2. And also your inhibitions kind of go down, and then you might want the chips or you might want the cookies. Right? So just pay attention to the amount and when you're having those liquid calories. Being active. So how do we offset those indulgences? That's kind of how like my mind goes, is if I'm going to have that ice cream that tonight, what am I going to do tomorrow to kind of offset that? And it's not like you're punishing yourself. It's like, I know I consumed more than I would have wanted to. So I don't want to go backwards. I want to try to maintain or go forwards. So things on vacation, a great thing to do after It's one of the best things you can do. Beach. We rent bikes all the time when we go on vacation. It's great. Yeah, it's also good. But as far as the being active, I mean, really the only thing you need, here's what you need. That's it, right? Look at the things you just did here today. You can do things with bands. You can do things with your body. Push-ups, air squats. It doesn't take much. 12 minutes, you can set up a workout quickly like this. I know Eddie can program some travel workouts. I have some travel workouts. All you need is your body to burn some calories. Walking a mile burns only 100 calories, if that puts it into perspective. So when you go to some of those restaurants and some of them have those calories on the menu, I love when they do that because it does. It really helps me make better decisions. So we think about how much you would have to offset some of that stuff. So again, what more can you do to be active to more remove some of those calories? Gyms in the area, classes that you might want to take, things that you might not have normally done that you might want to try on vacation. Be a little creative, right? A little different. I like the bikes. I think it's easy. And so I'll show you one of the props I have. I take this every single place I go. I just keep it in my suitcase. I have 2 jump ropes. I mean, you could do 100 jumps, some air squats, and some push-ups, 3 rounds, and you're good to go. And you feel like you accomplished something in the morning, and that the whole day. Just travel. I love that.
Yeah.
So good. Anybody else have anything that you do when you go on vacation to be active, anything different? Hikes, that's great. The rucking.
Right.
Yeah, if you're in a car and you want to take your vest.
Paddleboard, kayak.
Kayak. Yep, paddleboarding, all those things, something different. Just again, moving more than just sitting on the beach and indulging a little bit, right? So thinking about specific scenarios, because we have to navigate different things, right? What about all inclusives? We talked about that a little bit. Somebody mentioned that in the beginning, right? If, let's just say you're going to a resort that's all inclusive. I know you guys might have heard this before as we talked about it, but the plate method, right? Where you're still identifying your protein and then you're filling it half with vegetables, and then you have your carbs or your fruit or your non-starchy vegetables on one side. So stick to that plate method. What does that plate look like? And then in one plate, and then if you want to go back and have something, but normally if you're eating that stuff, you're going to be full, you're going to be satisfied, and you're not going to want to go for the other things. So the plate method. Yeah, go
I
ahead.
feel like I make bad decisions when I'm on vacation. So like I'll be like, oh, protein, and then I'll choose bacon. So like those are things that
Yeah, so you know those healthy proteins, right? And it's not that you can't have the bacon, but have the eggs with the omelet first, then have a little bit of bacon, right? More of the good things and a little bit of the things that you know in your mind aren't like the best choice, right? So we don't want deprivation. Road trips, that's what I had on here. Pack a cooler. And so here's some of the things that I take. And I am a big proponent of apps. There's an app called Around Me, where you can click, it has like coffee shops, all kinds of things, restaurants. And you can see, like if my husband's driving and we're like 15 miles in, and I want to know in 20 miles, am I going to have a good choice? But I'm going to make him stop there before we stop at a rest stop or something like that. So always thinking ahead and planning, but in the cooler or on the beach, like this people beach. And I'm using myself as an example, but I pack these in a cooler. So I'll put lettuce, I'll put some protein, I'll put my fruit, and a pack of nuts. And we take 4 of these in the cooler and we eat on the beach. So I don't have to go back to the hotel or the place we're staying at, but we're prepared. This could be like a little snack for the kids, where you put some good things in here and stick it in the cooler. And this is condensed, it folds up, so it doesn't take up much space. Little things like my protein bars. These are really good in protein and fiber, 7 grams of fiber and low in sugar. So you want to be careful with these, but use them in emergencies. Little jerky sticks that are great. Of course, we have some Whole Foods that I love. These little peanut butter packs or the little hummus packs are great to throw in a cooler for the beach or the trip. Like I have these all the time for our trip. So I'll order some whole apples and then we'll take these to the beach. So just a couple things there. This is another one of these things. It's a personal blender. and you charge it into like a phone charger or whatever. But I take my protein powder, so I have all kinds of different packs. I'll either take my collagen or these individual protein packs, and then you just can fill it with water and you zip it up. You can't necessarily put a ton of food in these, but at least you're getting your protein in for the day. Like if you make some eggs and then you want to take this to the beach, just some things that make life a little easier. And then I like the individual oatmeal packs that have, I like the flax and chia because you're getting more fiber.
Yeah.
Okay, and keep you fuller longer. So those are all things you can just add water to, right? But super easy to pack in a cooler. Anything else anybody takes that you want? Bars you
Yeah.
Yeah, so bars are tricky, and I'll be happy to share some information on those. The first thing I always look at is the ingredients list, because you want the least amount of ingredients and you want to be able to recognize them. The second thing I look at is the sugar, and then I look at the protein because I want to make sure I'm putting good things in first. Most of the bars out there, I would say 99.9% are crap, to be honest with you. They're candy bars. They're candy bars, but sometimes we need things in emergency. So I would rather you pack a pack of nuts and a whole piece of fruit and use that before the protein bars. But again, it's life. We're going to need those emergency kits. I don't eat them every day. I don't eat them as a snack every day, but I use them on trips like that, or if we're here late and I need something before I get home for dinner. So stuff like that, yeah. But just, you could always send it to one of the coaches and we can look at the ingredients for you. There's a few out there that are okay, but they have to taste good too. If they taste yucky, you're not going to eat them.
We have a question from
Yes.
online from Miss Tanya. When you get home and you've gained a few pounds, is it fat, lost muscle, weight, or all of the above?
I think it's a combination. It's just being off your routine. You're probably consuming more sodium than you do at home because if you're eating out more, we can't control any of those ingredients. It could be that you're just off your routine, and let's just say you work out 4 or 5 days a week and on vacation you decide that 2 days is plenty. I wouldn't get caught up in it. I would just get back on the bus. So those are the I'm glad she asked that question because my takeaways were to find balance, right? Find that balance. What am I going to do on vacation? I'm going to enjoy myself, but I'm not going to go hog wild, right? My mindset, how am I going in? Am I going with a positive mindset and not deprivation? And then here's the biggest one to answer her question, back on the bus as soon as you get home. So get back to that routine that you had before you left, or maybe you feel rejuvenated and you're ready to hit the ground running and be consistent with the workouts and be consistent with your nutrition. So, if we all love vacation, I think that you should be able to go on vacation. It's part of life, but finding that balance is super important. Any other questions? No? Anybody going on vacation anytime soon?
Yeah.
I mean, did you handle Portugal? Like, how did you tell?
Yeah, I mean, we've traveled quite a bit the last couple of years. One big kind of challenge that we learned a lot from was when we traveled to India, which was for 3 weeks at the end of 2023. And you could not go to a CrossFit gym. I mean, there's just like a lot of things that were different compared to traveling in other places. But we definitely do something active every day. So I think having a list of some things that you can do just with your body, and then things that you can do with just a dumbbell, because most hotels have a gym with at least a dumbbell. And then if you can get to something a little bit more interesting that you enjoy, whether it's hiking or going to an actual gym and doing a drop-in, that's great. And it's also a great way, at least if you go to a CrossFit gym, to meet people, because you meet a bunch of people who now think they're your best friend after you worked out with them for an hour, and they give you lots of tips about what to do where you are, how to navigate. Yeah, it's like you have a connection, the community. So that's something that we did do. And then the other thing was the breakfast. So in India, like all the hotels included breakfast, and it was mostly like all inclusive, basically like you just said. And we really prioritized getting protein at breakfast. So like pretty much every day. And again, this was like we were lucky because we were in a hotel where you could like order eggs, and so we would do like eggs with breakfast every single day and make sure we got in our fruit and veggies. And it was almost like a luxury because nobody makes me breakfast when I'm home. So that just kind of sets the tone for the day. It's like the breakfast and then doing something active. And yeah, the whole family came back. Of course, the kids are a little bit, Dinesh and I were thinking, oh, we'll be so off track, but we actually were more on track than ever because we've had 3 weeks to really kind of focus on self-care and that was it. The other thing is we try to walk everywhere. So wherever you are, and I don't count that as our exercise, but if you have the opportunity to walk instead of taking a taxi or some other form of transportation, it's just shocking. I mean, in our typical days, we really don't get more than a few thousand steps. And like when we were in Europe, for example, we were getting 20,000 steps a day. So I think that makes a huge difference. And then the last thing is that like when we travel, we do, I think packing things, not, like the protein. So that way you're never like, okay, I didn't get any protein in today. And then making sure you prioritize getting it in before you indulge in all that.
Yeah. Like we had just gone to, we were in Orange Beach last week, and we usually go to Hilton Head, and Hilton Head is, you can ride your bike everywhere. You can ride it on the beach. Orange Beach. I said to my husband, he's like, I gained 4 pounds last week. I'm like, you weren't playing pickleball. We didn't ride bikes. We weren't on the beach walking. Like it was just a different atmosphere. So this next time we're going back to Hilton Head where we could be more active. Like seriously, I'm gonna, look at those things before you go.
Yeah, so like staff and people who are enrolled in our programs, like you can always talk to the coach. Like I'm going on vacation at XYZ. I know Nicole's done this for a bunch of people over the last year. Like, where can you eat? Look at this menu with me. What would be the best options? Because it's a learning process. Like you can't anticipate every single thing, but then every time you do your research, go through the experience, and look back, see how it went, then you'll like get better for the next one.
Yeah, and I save all the restaurants and for all our trips on TripAdvisor so that I know, they were good choices, and I'm gonna nourish a little bit. Also, we're the best ice cream. They get times.
Yeah.
And so the other thing is when something like that is, I get the kids come.
Yeah.
So I'm like, so many
portions,
ice cream. Yeah, the portions. So I asked for the kids.
Yeah, that's a great start.
Stuff like that. Those little things will make a big difference, and you're going to feel better about yourself. It's all about this, right?
Yeah.
We come back from vacation, we're like, oh my God, what did I do? So if you do these little things each day, you won't feel so bad afterwards.
Yeah, it's just like if you overindulge at a wedding or a party or anything, like afterwards, you're like,
I know how I'm going to feel after this. I don't want to do that to myself. Yeah.
And I think another thing is just to be aware, like especially in American culture, some of the vacation spots are just like do not have healthy options. I mean, Disney is a good example. Cruises are another good example. It's like these are really common vacation options where the food is all about pleasure and overindulging and all these things. It's like not about eating well and being healthy. So it's particularly when you go to the places, I mean, I've trained in a CrossFit gym now for 8 years, and I feel like
So one of the things I don't think I mentioned about the cruises, they said always choose the dining room where you're served versus the buffets. Because the buffets you can get caught, for sure. Because everything looks good. Or you want to try something.
Yeah.
So just those little tweaks, it doesn't take much. There's some thought process, that's all. It's a lot of, thanks for the questions. Anybody else?
Would like a week on a cruise really destroy the.
Yes, I mean, you should see it. You see the results when they come back. They gain like.
It's like we're fans, I'm like, oh my God.
What about like
I'll wait.
glycogen and everything once you've like had a lot of carbs that you don't usually have and things like that, and how that contributes to weight gain?
You mean, well, I think, if you didn't really overindulge and you come back and the scale is 4 or 5 pounds higher, I would not overreact. It's probably water. probably waterway from like glycogen or too much salt or, so I would give it like a week to really kind of figure out what was the impact of your overindulgence. But you know, we all know how much we truly overindulge. And if you went on vacation and you were conscious and the scale's up, like, don't worry about it. Don't worry about it, move on, you know, get back on the bus and just see how the next week
And
goes.
she may disagree with this, but sometimes if I overindulge too much, I'll come back and I'll fast today.
Fast like an entire day.
Yeah, like 24 hours.
Yeah, I
Yes, I did 40 and I was good.
Yeah, so. A little bit, just to get back.
It was good.
I think there's really a benefit of fasting in like maybe 1 or 2 days like, out of the year for other reasons, but I don't know that it makes sense.
It's not just
It's
to
probably
clean your
not.
system out,
It's
or
more
you
the
come
mindset.
back and it's just whole foods only, maybe fruits and
Fasting
vegetables for
for
a day,
everything.
and you really lay off the carbs.
Yeah. I think that can be like being a little bit more disciplined in your routine is definitely helpful.
For sure.
Are you guys considering like outdoor sports? Any type like that?
You mean like when you're traveling?
No, we're talking about healthy living.
I have a rocking.
Like, I know you have rugby, but
Like a softball team?
like pickleball,
Yeah.
like kickball.
Yeah, do it
There's-
really.
There's plenty of, well, I already go, and there's plenty of places that we rent, and it's like $5 an hour.
Yeah, we were talking about doing like a pool event. Maybe we could do like pickleball and pool or something.
And I think that would benefit the program a lot.
I can definitely do that. Yes.
They'd probably give you a nice crowd, especially games where it's like co-ed.
Yeah. That's great. That's a good idea, like a tournament or something.
Not even, it's just you can do a weekly one or a monthly.
Monthly will be good.
Yeah.
Like one of our monthly events.
Yeah, Holly Deck has some great stuff.
I like that.
Good stuff. Well, now you go home and eat a healthy dinner.
See, yeah, that's another issue. I get home and I have the mother-in-law that cooks, so I have no control over what's made.
But you have control on what you tell her.
Yeah.
But then that's a problem, you don't want to disrespect the mother, you know?
You could be fired.
Then she won't cook anymore.
It's not going down. Somebody else can go.
Okay.